Hi, I'm Joe Stempian, and my talk today is on peace. And over the last few weeks, thinking about peace, I thought I have to define two things before I can even get to peace, and that is happiness and identity. So I wanted to talk about a little bit of Father Robert Spitzer's 4 levels of happiness. And if you're interested in Father Robert Spitzer, you can go to the Magis Center and you can learn more about the levels of happiness. But the first level, Father Spitzer says, is basic necessities like food, water. That level of happiness, this level of happiness, a nice steak, that might last an hour, 2 hours long, 30 minutes. So that's the basic level of basic necessities for the first level of happiness. The second level of happiness, Father Spitzer describes, that us humans can achieve would be like money, the acquirement of money, cars, trucks, a new house, your job title, achievements, promotions, all of those things. That happiness might last, let's just say for ease of argument, 6 months. And then the third level of happiness, once people realize that their hearts aren't filled from the promotions, from the achievements, from the new home, not that those things are bad. Father Spitzer says, philanthropy, giving of yourself, saying, yep, I have this money, I'm going to start giving it away. And he says, most people stop in this level. But for us as Catholics, there is even another level of happiness, even greater than charities and giving, right? And that level is communion with God. The highest form of happiness we can get in this earth is communion with God. And so what do I mean by that? How might that look? How does that tie into peace? Well, for me, my communion with God is my identity, who I am. I am a precious and beloved child of God, with whom He is well pleased. I don't have to do anything to earn His love. I don't have to achieve anything. I can just be. And I think for men especially, we get tied up in our job titles, we get tied up in providing, we get tied up in our identity as physical beings, all those things, and none of that brings about peace. So peace comes from being in communion with God, having your identity tied to Him. You are a precious and beloved son or daughter of God, right, with whom He's well pleased. I say that to myself all the time. I say, Lord, I am precious. I am beloved. You have to reflect on the Lord's love for you. And some ways you might reflect on the Lord's love for you. What I like to do in our home, I always look at my Sacred Heart. Every night I sit down, a long day of work, and I just look at the heart. And so what do you see when you look at the heart? Well, to me, I see Jesus' love. I see His love burning for me. He is burning with love for me. How do I know this? Well, in the confessional. So if you want to more closely link your identity, to become that child of God, you already are. But if you want those graces, we have to get to the confessional. And for me, that was 8 years ago. Albeit I was born and raised a Catholic, but 8 years ago I went to confession. It was my first year of marriage, and I hadn't been to confessional in 15 years. I thought I would never confess any sins to a priest. I said, I don't need to talk to a priest about that. I just need to talk to God about my things. Well, that was Satan. That was Satan keeping me from God's love. And so if I didn't go to that confessional, more than likely I probably would have lost my wife and my children, and this beautiful life that God had planned out for me. But it just took me taking that initiative and going to see, I'll just say his name, Father Michael Leitner in Wauwatosa, at a desperate, desperate time in my life. And in that confessional, that's when I found the Lord, if you will. The Lord spoke to me, and he penanced me to 7 out loud Hail Marys for the rest of my life. So I carry my rosary with me everywhere. And it was from that moment, my deepest, darkest hour 8 years ago, that somehow the Lord brought me to here. Somehow now I'm talking to you, and I can't even believe myself. So literally, I just went to confession 2 days ago, and I hadn't gone for about 2.5 months. And at the very end of the confession, the priest says, "Your sins are forgiven. Go forth in peace." I can't describe to you the feelings you get after you leave the confessional, especially if you've been away for a long time. I know me, I was away for 15 years, and then even 2.5 months now. That takes a toll on your body, takes a toll on your psyche. So you have to know that you are loved, that your identity is a child of God with whom he's well pleased, and we have to get to the confessional.